so far?
Pretty good. I mean, cut out all the carbs.
Yep.
I've slipped a couple of times. Not too bad.
That's all right.
No alcohol. Oh, well, I've had 2 alcoholic beverages. Tanqueray straight. There was a day that was like, I gotta have something. Yeah. A lot of protein.
Okay.
What else can I? I'll have, some steak, chicken, lamb. I've ordered from one of your purveyors some of their meats.
I need to try lamb. I haven't had lamb at all.
I'm trying to think of their name.
U.S. Wellness Meats?
I got them. I got their liverwurst.
Yes.
Now it comes frozen, and then I thawed it, and it says keep frozen.
Well, you can't eat it frozen, so you have to thaw it, and then you can cook it. So like what I do is I buy
eat it raw. I just eat it.
Well, so it's cooked, so it's not raw, but you can eat it cold.
Yeah, that's what.
So like not during no sugar, I'll get like the Simple Mills almond flour crackers, and I'll do a little bit of like a pecorino cheese or something, and then the liverwurst, because I'll just slice it up, and then I'll just eat it.
But I can store it refrigerator, but not frozen.
So store it frozen. Yeah, like after, it's just like anything. Like you go to the store and you buy bone broth, and it comes in the pantry section, but then once you open it, you got to use it within 7 days. So I buy it in bulk, keep it in the freezer, and then I'll usually like Sunday I'll pull it out, I'll let it defrost, and then I'll do like a pound of chicken, a pound of sausage that I buy from that same website, and then I'll fry that up, cut up the liverwurst, put it in there afterwards. I don't heat it up a ton with the liverwurst in there because I don't want to kill all the nutrients. And then I will just put it in the fridge and then heat it up throughout the week as my breakfast. So it's like 2 pounds of meat. That will last me typically 4 days. So it's like breakfast is a half a pound of meat, and it's just sausage and liverwurst.
Okay. I order some raw cheddar cheese.
Okay.
Tastes the same.
Yeah.
Texture is different.
Better.
Crumbly.
Is it cow's milk cheese?
I believe so.
Huh. So I get raw cheese from Chamberlain's right down the street, and it's soft. I don't know.
Okay.
But
so sausage is all right. I like a breakfast sausage.
Yeah.
The right.
And if you guys want, I mean, I can pull up on the TV behind me. I can pull up some of the stuff that I get so you can see. Yeah. How have you been doing with stuff, Lainey?
I've been doing pretty good, actually. Exploring new different foods, but I feel like some of them are crutching behavior.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to break.
So, yeah. And that's one of the big reasons we tell people don't do, like you can have almonds. We say you can't have almond flour. Because what you don't want to do is just sub out your Ritz crackers for almond flour crackers, because then at the end of no sugar, you didn't really make any sort of like habit changes.
Right.
So you're just going to fall straight back to the Ritz crackers because no sugar's over.
Yeah.
And that's not really the point. We want to try to make some of those habit changes. Same thing with pasta.
Yeah.
Like you can have lentils, but you can't do lentil pasta.
Right. Okay.
Because you want to make habit changes.
Can you have kidney beans?
No, the only beans you can have are garbanzo beans. Yeah.
No chili.
Well,
No.
you can make chili without the
Yeah,
beans.
Beanless chili.
But
no, like with the Lily's chocolate. Like
yes.
The other night I was like, I really want something. So I got like the 92% Lily's chocolate.
Yeah.
Which tastes like dirt practically, in my opinion. I'm sorry. It was terrible.
So, all right. We're going to take a 2-second time. I'm going to get some snacks. Since you guys actually like came tonight, I love, this is like one of my favorite snacks I just came up with the other night.
But I don't want to like replace.
Right.
I feel like I'm just replacing. I'm not. It's a healthier option, but I don't want to. I'm trying to break that.
It's
the.
tough
You know
to
what I
break
mean?
the habit.
Like I'm trying to break that sugar after. I always want sugar right after a meal.
Right.
I'm trying to like get out of feeling that craving, and I feel
Yeah.
like after like, that 92%, I could only eat literally like 2 of the little squares of it. And I was like,
So chocolate itself is very bitter. When you're craving chocolate, you're craving the sugar that comes along with chocolate. Kind of. Now, chocolate itself can create a dopamine response. So you can actually get a reward stimulation from the chocolate.
Mhm.
But if your brain's looking for a reward from sugar, because sugar and chocolate are coupled,
Right.
you're not going to get that really.
well, it's just like a, I don't know, it's like a habit at this point.
Yeah.
Almost. Like I finish a meal, 15 minutes later, it's like, oh, I want something a little sweet. So I tried the Lily's chocolate. I didn't necessarily care for it. I was like, okay, I can take it or leave it. But then I was like, oh, I'll try like the Zevia soda. And I typically don't like the aftertaste of stevia.
Yeah.
So I tried a Zevia soda. But then, like, the whole next day, I was like, oh, I can't wait to get home to have a Zevia soda.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah,
Like
it
what
did-
is that doing to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't typically drink soda. but
Yeah.
I like my coffee creamy and sweet. So I've just stopped drinking coffee.
Yeah.
I'm no caffeine, no nothing. So I was like, I want a little something.
Yeah.
But then my body was craving that, and that the whole next day. So I was like, am I? maybe
So
this
yeah, the
worse?
cravings are weird. And just for anybody who's watching online, jump in the comments, ask questions, I'll answer them. So I'm paying attention to the live comments here as well. So we were gonna have some snacks. So the Lily's dark chocolate, we've got these dark chocolate chips. So these are totally no sugar approved. This is gonna be unsweetened chocolate. Crunching this in the camera. Erythritol does have chicory root fiber in it, but you know, that's okay. So these are as good as you can pretty much get on no sugar. I've been getting the Lily's. There you go. Jonathan says, love Lily's. Love you, Jonathan. So these are great. I get the Lily's orange flavored dark chocolate. It's just, you can get these anywhere. Like the Chamberlain's has this. Yeah, they have the chocolate. I bought the last orange flavored chocolate that uses orange essential oils, and then the dark chocolate and stevia. So I ate like half a bar of that last night. So the chocolate itself will give you a little bit of a dopamine hit. I only grabbed one of these. Hang on. I'll be right back. I meant to grab enough. Can you tell how well prepared I was for today? Again, anybody watching online, feel free to jump on and ask any questions about no sugar, and I'll get them answered here. We're just having a little bit of snack time with the Lily's dark chocolate chips and nuts. So you get a little bit of the crunchy from the nuts. The nuts have a lot of fat in them. The chocolate's going to have some sweetness there. So what I will do is,
Stay away from all that.
so pistachios are the only nuts that you have to actually stay away from.
I'm not doing any cashews, any almonds.
But you had a Tanqueray, so you can have some nuts and some chocolate. This is just cashews, macadamia nuts, and there's some Brazil nuts in there also. But what I did was I got some raw, like sprouted cashews and did some chocolate chips and some cashews, and it was really good with macadamia nuts. So good as a little snack.
Sweet, salty.
I like these.
Yeah, and the chocolate chips taste really good.
Mhm.
So I'll sit down and eat some of these, and it kind of,
Oh, so that's way better.
yeah.
That 92% is like,
Yeah,
I may as
when
well.
you
So,
go to 100%,
yeah.
It's really very, very bitter.
Yeah, so I don't ever get 92% unless you're, I mean, there's benefits. So it has a lot of magnesium in it.
Right.
It's also very bitter, and the bitterness is very good for your digestive system. So there are benefits to the 92%, but you've got to really be craving the chocolate component, not the sweet component. So some of the Lily stuff does have, if you get below the 80% mark, you can't do the Lily's chocolates. Because they have other stuff in them. But in general, the Lily's chocolates are really good. And then after no sugar is over, I use the Hue chocolate a lot.
Does that have like the HU?
HU, yep. And it's in like the brown package.
Okay.
Yeah. So either that or the Lily's chocolate is what we typically will use.
But again, like I don't want to feel like I'm replacing.
Right.
I did find coconut wraps that are
Okay.
just
Like the Siete ones?
no.
Where'd you get them from?
Sprouts.
Okay.
And I have to pull them up. No, it's just coconut milk, coconut husk, and I forget what the.
Huh.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
I used like a carnitas meat and did a wrap with
And-
those.
Yeah,
I mean,
that'd be
you can
good.
Tell it's coconut, but
Right. So my issue with some of those gluten-free wraps is they just crumble really easily.
so this one was almost like the texture of a. It was a little weird. It
Yeah.
was like a plasticky fruit roll-up texture to it.
I think I know. So there's a bunch of brands that make something similar. Like Whole Foods has the Siete ones, but they also have like the Whole Foods 365 brand. And did you heat it up on the stove or what'd you do with it?
I didn't heat it at all. I just ate it raw.
Yeah, so I think those ones are better if you heat them. So you can either throw them in the oven for a second or you just heat it up on a pan.
I mean, it wasn't bad. I was actually kind of impressed with.
Yeah.
How well I enjoyed it.
There you go. I mean, if you found something like, and with like the trying not to replace habits, you're always going to want a snack. We're never going to be perfect. So if you can go to something like this,
Right.
rather than, because if you just completely say, I'm not going to have any snacks, that's not a very long-term strategy.
Right.
So it may be fine for 30 days and you may say, I want to get through this 30 days and not come up with any replacers. But use the 30 days to find snack options that fit within like the guise of the no sugar challenge and then continue doing those snack things afterwards.
Right.
Like this is a great snack for any time.
Yeah, this would hit after dinner when I want something.
Oh, I ate like half a bag of cashews, which you're not supposed to do, right? But if I have a sweet tooth, it's better this any time of year
Great.
than to go get cookies or go grab something else, right?
So for dinner one night, what I did is chicken strips, and I sauteed them, and I sliced up peppers.
Yep.
Yellow, red, not a green pepper. I didn't want a green pepper.
Yeah.
And I used broth. It was delicious.
That's kind of what I did last night. I had a skirt steak. And I just cut it up into pieces. And then I got the Siete fajita seasoning and just cut up peppers and onions. Now, the skirt steak ended up being terrible and my jaw hurt from trying to chew it so much. But that's,
It can be like true love.
yeah. So that's my fault for just pulling a skirt steak out of the freezer, thawing it, and throwing it in the pan. You can't do that with a skirt steak, but it would have been delicious otherwise. And then a little bit of lime juice in there was awesome. I just put it over lettuce. You could have done it in the wraps. You could have gotten like the butter lettuce, Butterberg lettuce, and done that. So that would have worked as well.
What about canned tuna?
Canned tuna, there we go. The question I told you to wait on. Yes.
In olive oil.
Yep.
I love it.
Great.
Okay.
I did a video last weekend on my Costco haul, and I got canned tuna, and I also got canned sardines. And I said,
I meant sardines.
I said in my video, I've never had sardines. I'm going to try them. That was 8 days ago, and I've still never had sardines. So it's kind of like the liver and the heart that I bought, froze them in my freezer, and still haven't touched. So
I found a whole container of all natural chicken livers.
okay,
And I've
where'd you
had
get those at?
Publix.
They had chicken liver
Yeah.
in the freezer
all
section,
natural.
or
So that was 3 lunches.
okay? So you got to be careful with all natural, because what does natural actually mean? There's a lot of different like.
Yeah, right.
But so what'd you do with them? You just ate chicken livers, like just
Saute them up.
okay. So I had chicken livers only one time. It was at Corey, the steakhouse at Waterside.
Mhm.
They were pretty good actually, and surprisingly, Rachel ate them too, which I never would have thought. So
It's got like calf's liver and
yeah.
chicken liver.
So you like just liver by itself.
Yeah.
Most people are
Don't.
see her
I
face.
wish.
Yeah.
She's not about that
I
life.
do it.
Put some onions in there too.
I think my dad
So-
scarred me as a kid.
That was always
Force-feeding
force fed you liver.
stuff, and, like, having to smell it, and, like, oh.
So that was always my dad's like birthday meal was liver and onions
Yep.
until my mom put an end to it. But
My dad was Swedish, so we learned how to eat the sardines. They used to roll it up.
mhm. So do you just eat them plain?
Yep.
That's probably my other hesitation is I bought them. I know they're good for you.
Yep.
I was like, this would be a great snack, but I like, do you just,
I
See,
want
normally
to,
I'd
I
have
just-
crackers.
oh, yeah.
But I'm staying away from crackers.
Yep.
So, bingo.
so instead of crackers, what you can also do is cut up cucumbers.
Okay.
Which is bad. I've been doing goat cheese and cucumbers,
Yeah.
slicing those up, and also the taking peppers,
Mhm.
red and yellow,
Yeah.
orange peppers, and goat cheese, and doing those. And like all the girls in the office are like, "What are you eating?" So now it's like, okay, you having snack time now? Like,
Yeah.
everybody comes out and like gets peppers and
It's cool when everybody starts like following along with your weird, goofy, healthy things.
right. They're all like, "Here's our money. Just start packing our food." And I was like,
There you go.
No.
I don't have time for that full-time job. Yeah, yesterday I was really tired after the morning. I was super hungry and I needed something to like satiate me. And the roast or the ground beef that I had in the fridge just like wasn't going to do it. So I went to Chamberlain's and I got the Ithaca hummus.
I haven't tried it yet.
And so that's really good. And then I just got a bell pepper.
Mhm.
We have a cutting board and a knife back there. I just cut up a bell pepper and ate that with hummus, and it was cold and crunchy, and the hummus had a lot of flavor. It's pretty acidic.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you're craving sugar, also you can get away from that sugar craving with either salt or acid. So if you have like for dinner, a lot of times with my dinner, I'll drink soda water, lemon juice, and bitters. So it's like my digestive cocktail. And that will get rid of a lot of cravings because you get the fizziness from the soda water, and then the lime juice is very acidic. And then the like pickles, very salty, cold, crunchy. So a lot of times just like I have a jar of pickles back there, and that'll get rid of some sugar cravings too. Sometimes you just need that like cold crunch.
Yeah.
They also get rid of headaches too.
Yeah,
Pickle juice. Good pickle juice.
right. So like the
Not
Bubbies,
sugar.
wild
Juice,
brine.
yeah.
A lot of times I think people get cravings and then they go to sugar because sugar is going to give them that dopamine hit, and it will get rid of the craving just because of the dope. But you may not actually be craving sugar.
Mhm.
You're just using sugar to satisfy the craving when there's other things that you could fix it with. So trying pickles and acidic type stuff can help with that a lot. Yeah.
Salted pumpkin seeds.
Yeah, I have a bag of them back there.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Crunchy,
Yeah.
salty. The theme is like crunchy and salty.
Right.
I crave
It
crunchy, salty.
satisfies- I mean, every now and then I
Yeah.
need something salty and crunchy.
Yeah. And think about like your senses. We've got our 5 senses. So smell, taste, like hearing it, and like feeling the crunch. I think a lot of times you're hitting a lot of different senses.
Yeah.
Whereas like ground beef, it might be salty, but it's probably a little bit dry. It's not giving you like any sort of like reward from biting into it. Sounds weird. Same thing with a
Could
steak.
be a little mushy.
But when I eat a steak, I eat ribeyes, grass fed, grass finished, but it's still very fatty. So you're getting that fat flavor, the texture of the fat on your tongue, and I put a ton of salt on it.
Mhm.
So by the time I've eaten my steak, I've like blown out my palate from all the salt and the fat. But then I don't have a sugar craving. So, and I don't do that all the time. But like during no sugar, like tonight, I'm probably gonna get home a little bit late. I don't know what we're doing for dinner. I'll probably go pull a steak out of the freezer. It'll take me 10 minutes of thought, salt, pepper, garlic, load it up, and then just eat that. And with some soda water and some lemon juice, I probably won't have a sugar craving. And if I do, like this will get rid of your sugar craving for sure. So
So it's no alcohol and
yeah,
sugar. But all the liquid supplements have alcohol.
correct.
Different grain, different.
So it is a grain alcohol that's in the liquid supplements. We also want to look at like risk versus reward. So when we say no alcohol, we're talking about sitting down and drinking 2 ounces of Tanqueray. You're not getting that much alcohol out of the supplements.
Okay.
So even if you take like 3 or 4 supplements at once, you're getting like maybe that much in the shot glass, and half of that's alcohol. So there's like almost no alcohol compared to just sipping on Tanqueray, even if it's on the rocks. But
Did I do something wrong?
What?
Did I do something wrong?
Did you self-admit to doing something wrong? For everybody watching online right now, feel free to jump on and ask any questions that you guys might have. We're just hanging out, chatting, having some snacks here, some no sugar approved snacks. So
What? Normally I don't drink anything carbonated.
okay,
So I'm at a loss. I'm drinking tons of water.
yep. So how much is tons of water? Because I just had this conversation with someone earlier today.
I bet you now I'm up to about 10 glasses of water.
10 glasses,
Oh,
10
no,
glasses. Okay.
Oh,
So you're probably drinking enough water. One thing you can do is put salt in it. Your body may need more electrolytes. So one of the big things is during no sugar, a lot of times we lose a lot of weight right up front. And I just made a video about this the other day. One of the reasons we lose all that weight is because water follows, I don't know how to say this in a non-super scientific way, but like water will follow sugar and salt and things like that. It follows this osmotic gradient. So when we have more sugar and more salt in our bodies, water is going to be absorbed and follow that to balance out the osmotic pressure, basically. And so during no sugar, we cut all the sugar out of our body and we lose a bunch of water weight. So a lot of times people will see 5-10 pounds in the first couple of days go by, because the bloating gets better and they feel like leaner and lighter. But a lot of that is the water that you lost along with the loss in sugar. So you need to make sure you're drinking plenty of water. But if you're drinking a ton of water and you don't feel hydrated, adding in a little bit of salt can help your body absorb the water a little bit better.
Tea would be the other thing.
Tea is, well, what type of tea do you drink?
Well, what I did was from Publix, unsweetened tea.
Unsweetened black tea.
Yeah.
Has caffeine, is a diuretic, will make you lose water. So water is clear, not black or brown. So if you're drinking coffee and you're drinking tea, that does not count as water, and that will cause you to lose more water.
Okay.
So if you're drinking tea, you got to drink more water to offset it.
Okay.
Now, unsweet tea can be good because it can like curb some cravings. It can mix it up a little bit.
I probably got 2 sips from it.
Okay. So you're not drinking it. You're not
No,
just
no,
drinking
not a
tea
ton.
all day long.
And the only coffee I do is it's really about two cups in the morning.
Okay.
Gotta have my coffee to start the day.
I mean, yeah, I drink coffee all day long. I just had my last sip of coffee like 30 minutes ago. So
I got to the point when I was younger I could do that. Now I can only drink so much, and then I can feel the effects.
you get like jittery and stuff.
Maybe a headache.
Yeah.
Maybe my stomach, just enough.
Okay. So you can take L-theanine with coffee.
Take what?
L-theanine, it's an amino acid. It's very calming. So a lot of times if you get jittery and heart palpitations and things like that, the L-theanine will help to offset that. If you look at a lot of energy drinks, and some of them are so funny. I'll read the ingredients list on like a Bang energy drink or Gorilla Punch or like Slam My Face into a Wall, whatever. They name these energy drinks crazy things. And you look at it and it's like caffeine, stimulant, next ingredient, L-theanine, calming, next ingredient, guarana or whatever it is, stimulant, next ingredient, GABA, calming. And it's like these energy drinks are just like making your, like they're bringing you up and then they bring you back down, then they bring you up and bring you back down. We got a question online here. Can you use herbal teas as a form of hydration without caffeine? You're probably not going to drink enough herbal tea. And since I know who's asking this question, drinking like a hot tea at night, you're not drinking herbal tea all day long. So you're not going to be getting a significant amount of water that comes along with that. But herbal tea is not going to have the caffeine in it, which is the diuretic component. You do have to be careful with some of the herbal teas because it can create too much. Like a lot of people will use like detox teas with milk thistle. You got to be really careful because that can push the liver too much and make you anemic if you drink them every day. But you're probably not drinking enough herbal tea during the day to be a significant form of hydration, unless you're just drinking like iced chamomile tea all day long, which isn't going to have the diuretic effects, but most people probably aren't doing that. So, yeah.
Celtic salt versus Himalayan.
So both of them are going to be good. It depends if you're asking me or the microplastics people. So they're going to have different mineral profiles. If you're a Celtic sea salt company, So Celtic sea salt is what we sell. That I believe is the best. It's got your salt, but it's got like 88 other micronutrients and trace minerals in there. So you're getting a whole profile of nutrients going with the salt. The only argument I've seen against Celtic salt is that Celtic salt comes from the ocean, and the ocean is full of microplastics. And so thereby virtue, there are microplastics in your salt. Now, are there microplastics everywhere? Yes. Can we avoid them completely? No. So are we really going to choose our salt based on the microplastics? No. Himalayan sea salt, ton of nutrients in it, really good for you. It doesn't come from the ocean. It comes from the mountains and the Himalayas. So there's not microplastics in it. Now, if you store it in a plastic bag, are there? Right. So it's like, this one of those arguments where I tell you I put Celtic salt in everything, and you just want to be like an internet warrior and tell me I'm wrong because there's microplastics in my Celtic salt. Like, okay, guy, go find something else to do. Both of them are going to be good. What we don't want to do is the iodized table salt. Any table salt that's white, basically what they did was they stripped all the minerals out of it. They called them imperfections or impurities, sold them to the supplement companies. Then they bleached the salt to make it all look the same color, so it looks pretty, and they give it to you. Or they put iodine in it, which evaporates anyways. So by the time you get it onto the table, there's not a significant source of iodine in it anyways. There's a lot better places to get iodine. If you have Celtic sea salt that comes from the ocean, there's going to be some iodine in there. Seafood, seaweed, sea salt, anything that comes from the sea is going to be a good source of iodine. But you want the colored salt. So like that salt is gray. The minerals are what make it gray. Pink Himalayan sea salt, the minerals make it pink. You can get black salt, really high in iron. You can get all sorts of different colored salts. Celtic sea salt, that brand Celtic makes a potassium salt that comes from like some potassium caves in Spain. So if you're looking specifically to increase your potassium levels because you're cramping and things like that. So we talked about water following salt. Well, salt and potassium work on a gradient. So if you have low potassium, salt's going to be higher in relation to that. Water will follow that. You could get really bloated. So if you increase your potassium levels, that's going to offset that high salt concentration. Water will follow it out of the cells. And a lot of times we'll get less bloating if we take potassium.
So that replaces the traditional table salt.
Correct. Okay. If you come to my house, I have a box of kosher salt, which I only use if I'm brining something. I bought it to brine a Christmas turkey. Now it's sitting in the back of the pantry. The only thing I use is the Celtic salt and the pink Himalayan salt. Now, it depends on what you're doing with it also. So you can get that Celtic salt. We sell the fine ground. We have a smoked one, a rosemary one, and then we have the like the chunks. I have a bag of the chunks at home. I have a salt grinder. I can't put it in the salt grinder because the Celtic salt is very damp. So you have to dry it out or it mucks up your grinder. So I have pink Himalayan salt that I put in my grinder. So if I'm grinding it on top of something, I'll use that. If I'm throwing it in a recipe or something where it's going to get absorbed anyways, then I'll use the Celtic salt. But you're fine with both of them. Yeah.
So the Celtic salt with the potassium, I can't get my husband to get away from drinking liquid IV or Gatorade.
Yeah.
That would be a good.
So liquid IV, like when you're looking at electrolyte drinks, also there's a lot of issues with electrolyte drinks. And they're not all electrolyte drinks. So like we recommend the LMNTs. Now you have your keyboard warriors that hate LMNT now because everybody needs something to hate. Right, because Bobby Approved sells his own electrolyte drink now, right? So they're saying that it has maltodextrin in it. LMNT says the maltodextrin is really important as a carrier of electrolytes that brings it into your cells, so it makes it more effective. I haven't done research on it. I don't know. I know that everybody who doesn't like LMNT, probably because they sell their own electrolyte drink, says it's bad for that reason. LMNT says it's in there for a reason. I'm not getting involved with that. I'm just going to stick with LMNT. The LMNT, the reason I like it is because I'm an athlete. I sweat a lot, and we sweat out a certain concentration of electrolytes. LMNT is meant to match the content of electrolytes that you lose through your sweat. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 250 milligrams of potassium, something 100-ish of magnesium. So for athletes, it's really good. You look at something on the opposite end of the spectrum, like Ultima. I recommended Ultima for a long time as an electrolyte drink. Ultima, 50 milligrams of potassium, or of 50 milligrams of sodium. I think it's got like 325 milligrams of magnesium. So now it's Element T is over here skewed very heavily towards sodium, and Ultima skewed very heavily towards magnesium. There's a reason that I would recommend both of those, but we've got to understand what's going on. So question number one is, why is your husband obsessed with Gatorade and liquid IVs? Is it because he just likes the taste of it?
No, it's usually following yard work or he's in the
Okay.
garage working on cars. Like
So he's sweating a lot.
Wears a sweatband and
Yeah.
wrings it out 3 times.
Okay.
And like, he's a sweater.
So Gatorade is meant for athletes. Now, if you're sweating a bunch, Gatorade Endurance has the appropriate ratios, not classic Gatorade. Gatorade also has a bunch of sugar in it, and it has a bunch of artificial flavors and dyes and chemicals. So we don't want to use Gatorade. Liquid IV, they have the sugar-free version and they have the sugar version. Same thing. It's better, but it's not the best that you can do. But now we're talking about a different class of electrolytes. We've talking about Gatorade, which has sugar and carbohydrates in it. When you're an athlete, if you're working out a bunch, you need the carbohydrates to keep you going. You also need the electrolytes. So Gatorade puts those two together. Unfortunately, it's just coupled with a bunch of other stuff that you don't want. When I'm doing triathlons and stuff, LMNT doesn't give me any carbohydrates. So I've got to take something else for my carbohydrates. So when I'm doing races, I'll do LMNTs and I'll mix that in water with another carbohydrate supplement. And then I can also dose those out separately. So if he's working on the garage, sweating, theoretically burning a bunch of calories, he probably needs both. There's just better ways to get both. He could eat a carton of raspberries and drink an LMNT, or eat a tablespoon of salt. That's probably the most extreme, like crazy person.
Right.
That person probably also eats like raw liver and raw eggs. So we don't necessarily need to go that extreme. But finding some sort of leeway. Like he's probably not going to go from Gatorade and liquid IV to Celtic salt, because now it feels like his wife's just making him do crazy stuff that he doesn't want to do. And Celtic sea salt and water, now you're drinking salt water, which doesn't taste good.
Right.
So the LMNTs are very sweet with stevia.
Okay.
I think it's stevia, but a lot of people don't like the taste of that. So you can do like Paleo Valley has an electrolyte drink. The Bobby approved ones, I forget what, like there's a ton of electrolyte drinks out there. Just find one that's not Gatorade, Propel, Liquid IV, like those have a bunch of junk in them. But there's 1,000 clean electrolyte drinks out there. I think LMNT got very popular and everybody in their garage was like, man, I could become a marketing company that sells electrolyte drinks and I'll just talk shit about LMNT and market my product that way. So there's a bunch of them out there. They're probably all pretty good. I just happen to use that one, but it needs to not be Gatorade.
Right.
So yeah, it gets confusing and the waters get muddy sometimes, but
I keep drinking my water.
Right.
there you go. I mean, water, pinch of sea salt. I don't even know why we got down this path,
I am.
but yeah, the Numas are good too. The Numas have a coconut water base. Coconut water though, no sodium. So I made that mistake during my first ever half Ironman race. I was like, I'm not doing Gatorade. I'm anti-Gatorade. I'm going to do a bunch of coconut water. All I drank the day before my race was coconut water. And I ended up cramping like 200 yards into the swim. And I was like, what in the world? I drank so much electrolytes. And then like a day or two later, I was like, oh my God, coconut water has no sodium in it. I was like, what was I doing? And it just made the race miserable. But now I don't do that. But I mean, again, it depends on what you're trying to do, right? That is coconut water with sea salt. But again, it doesn't have a huge electrolyte profile. So it's, what are you trying to do? You don't want to be drinking LMNTs all day long. But if you're working out, you need to have something with a bunch of sodium in there. So yeah. Any other questions? You guys feel good? Feel like you're doing good?
Those breakfast ideas that
Yeah.
don't include almonds or eggs.
So,
So you said the sausage and liverwurst.
sausage and liverwurst. Yep. Chia pudding.
That I have been doing.
Okay.
Not the recipe that was attached to.
Is it like
no sugar
the,
jam.
okay. Though, is it like a lemon thing? What is it?
That's one of the options
Okay.
on there.
So the chia pudding is really easy. And you can make it ahead of time, which is nice. Yeah. You can make it in like individual mason jars. You can also add the chocolate or the vanilla protein powder to it and increase the protein content of it a little bit if you want some more calories and a little bit more sustenance. You can put almond butter in it, or you said you have an almond allergy. So you could use cashew butter or you could use sunflower butter. So different options there. The protein powder, you can put like flax seeds or hemp seeds or something on top of it if you wanted to. So it's like a base. It's just like what you would do with oatmeal. You could do a bunch of different stuff with it.
What's like because it doesn't say like a serving, so I make it in just a big mason jar, and that's like 4 or 5 days for me.
Yeah. So I would say like with this, we're eating food that's relatively healthy. If you're eating healthy, nutritious food, we don't need to worry as much about the volume of it. So I would say eat as much until you're full. Like when I make chia pudding, I'll do a 1/4 cup of chia seeds with a cup of water and I'll eat that.
Okay.
That's probably more than a serving, but I also eat way more than most people do. So chia pudding is really good. You can just do protein shakes. Like a good no sugar protein shake would be the bone broth protein or the collagen protein.
I have a hard time finding them that don't have one of my
So what do you have on your food allergy list?
in it. Gluten, cow's milk, almonds, eggs, peas.
So that bone broth doesn't have any of those in it.
Okay, perfect.
And if you need to leave, Steve, you're not rude. You can take off.
Yeah, I think you've answered everything.
Perfect.
I'm gonna go look for those chocolate chips.
There you go. Chamberlain's right down the street.
Okay, good.
Perfect. Well, thanks for coming.
All right, good. Thank you.
So this bone broth over here, I can just grab it. We can look at it. A lot of people struggle with the pea protein. Like a lot of vegan proteins are heavy in pea protein. So if you have pea on your list, you can't do that. This one is, so it's got chocolate, cacao, xanthan gum, guar gum, stevia, lu hong guao, which is monk fruit extract. That's it. And then bone broth, chicken bone broth. So this one's super clean. And that's the Wellness Way bone broth for all you watching online. The other one I like a lot, which I personally like better, is the bulletproof one that's over there. That one is just, this is bone broth, so it's mostly type 2 collagen. That was the bone broth, or the bulletproof collagen protein, mostly type 3 collagen. That one has coconut creamer in it, so it's a little bit sweeter. You can still do it as long as you don't have a coconut allergy.
I don't have a coconut allergy. My concern was like having trouble with, obviously I'm allergic to almonds, but then I'm having trouble with like pecans and some other nuts as I'm going. So I'm peanut butter, like peanuts. I know that it's a tree nut versus legume, but
Yeah.
But I'm starting to have issues with nuts in general, and I'm scared if I overdo the coconut, with that being a tree nut, that I'm gonna.
So that's totally fine. Like I'm not going to argue with you on that. If you're worried about that, just do this one.
Okay.
So the Wellness Way version of the shake that you could do is going to be this, a nut milk that you don't have on your allergy list. And then, I mean, you could even just use water. So you don't even have to use a nut milk. I've done it with water before. Frozen avocado chunks, like usually you would do a banana, but you could do frozen avocado. It's going to increase the protein or the fat with no carbs. A nut butter, which if you're worried about nuts, I would do sunflower butter.
Okay.
And you can get that at Trader Joe's. You can get it online at the Thrive website. And then I do cacao powder because I like cacao. You could put vanilla extract in there. You could put cinnamon in there. But the bone broth with the avocado and some sort of liquid will make a very good base that you could then flavor around however you want. The avocado makes it very creamy, yes. Kathy says, I love the chocolate bone broth in my tea. She keeps saying that. It's weird, I think. It's a nice flavor, and I feel good that I'm adding more protein to my diet. I love that. I don't know that I would personally be doing bone broth in my tea. A lot of people put this in their coffee too. So, and a lot of people who are did you mention struggling with coffee and the creamer and stuff?
I like it creamy and a little bit
Okay.
sweet, so I just stopped drinking it altogether to
That's a really sad day to not have coffee.
It's super sad, everybody.
So you can use this in there. You could put the vanilla one in your coffee. A lot of people do that. It's more of like a mocha flavor.
Mhm.
Are you used to putting like whole milk or half and half in it? What are you used to putting in your coffee?
Generally just like really bad creamer.
Okay.
Like,
But like milk, like a dairy milk. Like you use a
non-dairy.
do you use a non-dairy creamer or a regular creamer? Like dairy-based creamer.
Well, they're non-dairy, but they're
Okay.
I don't think they're necessarily non-dairy.
So the only reason I ask is because
Bullshit creamer.
yeah, like a lot of people put like half and half or heavy cream in their coffee because it has a lot of fat in it. So it makes it like texture wise different. I haven't put milk in coffee for 15 years. So I don't know what you're talking about, but I've been told it like changes the texture. And then nut milk doesn't match the texture of
Correct.
milk, which is why a lot of people don't like switching to the nut milk creamers. And that's why they put a bunch of junk in the nut milk creamers to try to make it like
More texture.
taste more like milk. What I've found to be the best is coconut cream. So if you get the can of full fat coconut cream and add that, it's a lot thicker. And you're going to get a lot more fat. You can also add MCT oil or ghee to it. So you can add a little bit of extra fat in there. And if you added that in for some flavor, some cinnamon, you're probably going to be okay. I just drink my coffee black though. And it's obviously a
I had
personal
gotten
thing.
to that point previously, and
Yeah.
I was like, why am I doing this when it's not something that I'm really truly enjoying? I'm just drinking it because it's
Yeah.
a ritualistic
Right.
habit.
Well, and that's where if you have the ritualistic habit, but you're not like emotionally tied to the coffee, that's where other things like the mud water and there's a lot of like brewed cocoa or cacao or people will drink tea. You can drink if you just need something that's hot,
Right. That's
but
what
it doesn't have to be coffee.
Right.
But if you tell someone to go drink the mushroom coffee or the mud water or the cacao stuff, the brewed cacao, and they like coffee, like for me, it would never work because I want the coffee taste.
Mhm.
But if you're not attached to the coffee taste, that could be a really good option. Yeah. So cool. Anything else? You feel good? So breakfast,
Breakfast is the
the
hardest.
chia pudding,
That's the hardest one for me.
Yeah.
I can get through the rest of the day fine. Breakfast
the
is
shakes.
hardest.
Yeah. Have you tried the duck eggs?
I don't do well with them. Like
Okay,
I still
totally
after a
fine.
couple days, I like start to get itchy. Like,
So yeah, so that's fine. And that's why I always tell people to avoid all eggs for a month because then if you try to add the duck eggs in and you feel like you're getting itchy or hives, something like that, you're gonna be more sensitive to it and you're gonna know there's cross reactivity, which definitely happens. So that's fine.
I have not tried the quail eggs because I feel like
If you came up positive for duck egg or for chicken eggs and then you also feel like you react to duck eggs, it's probably not worth trying quail eggs. Quail eggs are also a pain in the ass because they're so small.
Right.
But also, who said you have to have cereal or eggs for breakfast?
right, I don't
Like, that's
typically-
the
I don't
biggest thing.
typically on like an everyday basis.
Yeah.
Cook myself eggs and then go to work.
Yeah.
Like that's not.
Like you just need something
Yeah.
to eat, right?
Yeah.
That are calories. It doesn't have to be like in America, we've created this cultural thing around breakfast that it's got to be pancakes or waffles or cereal or eggs and bacon and sausage. If you look at other countries, they don't eat breakfast the same way. So you could easily grab like a non-dairy yogurt. You could eat a steak. You could eat liverwurst. You could eat a pepper with hummus. Like there's no reason you can't eat those things for breakfast.
Yeah.
You just have to eat something. A lot of times, like I'll run out the door and I'll just grab a couple meat sticks, and it's like I just got to eat something. So I eat a couple meat sticks, fat, protein, 100 calories per meat stick, couple hundred calories, lasts me for an hour or two. Grab some nuts, keeps me going. Then I get to lunch, meat, whatever it is. But when I have my breakfast, it's typically the sausage and liverwurst. So I would recommend trying it at least. It's not going to kill you.
I'm gonna have to bite the bullet on that one.
Yeah. But and then you're good with lunch and dinner and stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty good creatively.
Yeah.
With that kind of stuff.
I mean, you could always try intermittent fasting and stuff too.
Which I'm fine with. I did that for quite some time and just only ate like an earlier dinner.
Yeah.
In between 8 between like 4:30 and 6:30. Just cooked.
And I don't remember exactly where your labs were at, so I may be making that recommendation and I shouldn't be. Let me see here. Since you're the only one here, I can just pull this up. Big thing to look at with fasting is just where your cortisol levels are. We have a Dutch test.
You have an old, yeah, you do an old one.
Well, this was from
Last week.
21.
You should have-
No, 22.
Yeah.
And your cortisol levels are fine, so I think you'd be okay with that. I mean, as long as it hasn't changed significantly, you'd probably be okay with doing intermittent fasting. So, yeah.
It's easier for me to only have to think about, because food becomes like an obsessive
Yeah.
thing for me, even though I don't generally in general eat junk or garbage foods. It's a mental obsessive
Yeah.
thing for me. That's why I said I don't want to replace one habit
Yeah.
type of thing with,
But
if I'm gonna do it, it's better to do
Yeah.
it with something that's better.
But if you look at like it being a mental obsessive thing, like now food's become an emotional stress for you. And we don't want emotional stress, just like we don't want physical stress or chemical stress. Your body's going to respond negatively to all of those things. So if you have this emotional stress, and the way that you get rid of the emotional stress is with food, and now you think, well, I don't want to have to get rid of my emotional stress that way, so I'm just not going to eat. Well, now the emotional stress is going to build up in your system, and you're going to create all sorts of, like, that's going to wreak havoc on you.
Yeah.
So then the other option is, so we have a stress that helps with our emotional stress, but is the food that we're eating from the snack, is that creating a chemical stress? So if you're eating Ritz crackers and processed cheese and whatever, right? Now we're eating inflammatory food. So the emotional stress is better, but now now we have a chemical stress, right? So if you can get rid of the emotional stress with something like what we talked about with nuts and some dairy-free, sugar-free chocolate chips, we're helping with that emotional stress, but we're not creating the chemical stress. So our overall stress burden is a little bit lower as a result of that, which would be good. So we're looking at like, what can we do to create a net change in stress? So don't think of it as like, oh, I have to stop snacking. It's like, you don't have to stop snacking. There's nothing wrong with snacking, right? As long as we're eating healthy snacks. And if it helps us feel better, then that's a bonus. If you completely cut it away, eventually you'll change the reward centers in your brain, but it sucks trying to get to that point.
Right. I think to myself, off that, I heard somebody say one time, like, you're not a dog, you don't need a treat.
Yeah.
Like, stop using food
Right.
as like the means with which to reward yourself.
Yeah.
In things like, man, today was really hard. I really want to go have a cocktail because it was such a bad day.
Yes.
And my reward for the terrible day that I just had.
Right.
Or I'm gonna, I'm gonna bake cookies today because it was a rough day. And
Yeah.
I need to reward myself for.
Well, and I'm a victim of that too. But if we think about that from like a neurological standpoint, what's happening is we have all this stimulation and stuff that's coming into our bodies all day long. And so mentally we're exhausted and we're looking for anything that can just give us a hit of dopamine or a hit of serotonin to make us feel better. And what does that surefire all the time is sugar, is a glass of wine, is eating a bunch of cookies. So we know we're going to get that response and it makes us feel better. So we're trained to go do that. Now, what else does that? Exercise, cold plunging, a hug from someone you love. But society hasn't trained us to run to exercise. It trains us to run to a glass of wine or to run to chocolate or to run to cookies. Part of that is because no one makes money off of you going for a walk and getting sunshine. Everybody makes money off of selling food. And when we walk down the food aisle, it's just all these bright flashing lights. And they are literally training you like a dog. You walk into the grocery store and you start salivating because you start seeing all these bright colors. You can't drive a mile down the street without seeing and smelling the Burger King and the McDonald's and the Arby's and all these things. And they know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to trick you. They're trying to treat you like a dog who hears a bell and starts salivating. So we aren't dogs and we don't need a treat. But society has trained you like you're a dog. And now you feel like you need a treat. And it's really hard to break out of that, especially when the bell keeps ringing.
Right.
So.
That was the option tonight.
Yeah.
Everybody from the office, it was a garbage day.
Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah.
Everybody at the office is at Mi Pueblo having cocktails.
Yeah.
Eating Mexican food. And I was like, no. Skinny margaritas? Come on. You could come. And I was like,
Hey, you made the good decision.
here.
That's amazing.
So,
But think about when that happens in February and you don't have here to be,
right.
and you don't have no sugar as an excuse. So what's our strategy for that?
Right.
And it's, I can go there. Social connection, big hit of dopamine. So the social connection is a great piece of that. You can go for the social connection and not do the other stuff. You can get a soda water with bitters in it. You could get a skinny margarita. It's not going to kill you to have a drink, right? You can eat Mexican food. Mexican food is almost one of the easiest things to eat when you're on a healthy diet. And when you have a lot of food allergies, you can just go order fajitas.
Which is what I normally
Like steak fajitas, it's steak. There's probably butter in there, but you're not going to die. Steak, peppers, onions. And then you either get, like, if they have house corn tortillas, or just eat it in a lettuce wrap, or just eat it. And now you didn't have to tell your friends no. You didn't have to go home after a really rough day and now feel like you're also missing out on something, but you also didn't like allow yourself to just fall into the trap and do all the bad things that you could have done. So it's like having things like that and just knowing that you can do certain things without having to do everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Feel good? All right. See you later, Facebook. Thanks for hanging in there.